Hey everyone, this is Gift from God, episode 7. Today I have Nathaniel with me because, since this is his show, he ought to be in it every once in a while. And we're going to talk to you about politics. No, we're not actually talking about that at all. You see, Nathaniel's really liberal and he would make some of y'all mad, so we're just going to completely avoid that topic altogether. And today, what we're actually going to talk about is the whole idea of dreams. You see, I recently finished a book called Me, Myself, and Bob. This is Phil Vischer's memoir. He's the guy who created VeggieTales. This guy created a huge piece of my childhood. And in this book, he details about how he had a dream to be the next Walt Disney. And then that dream started coming true, he started having success, and then after a series of financial mishaps and bad decisions and lawsuits, the dream fell apart. Phil lost his company, he lost VeggieTales, he lost just about everything. He talks about the rise of VeggieTales and Big Idea, he talks about the fall of VeggieTales and Big Idea. The point at the end of it all is this, that the life that we are called to lead is not in following our dreams or our callings, but to follow Jesus. The moment that we focus our lives on Him and not ourselves and what we can do, but focusing our lives on Him, that's the moment that we find the life that we're called to live. You see, our worth is not what we do with our lives, but who we live our lives with. So what does all this have to do with Nathaniel? You see, when my parents found out that Nathaniel was going to be disabled, they had a decision to make. They could continue going on with the pregnancy as normal, or they had a chance to abort it from the get-go. Any dreams that my parents had about Nathaniel, any dreams that they had about their next kid, they were destroyed the moment when all the hydrocephalus stuff happened. Nathaniel would never grow up to live the life of a normal person. Growing up, he would never do any sports or arts or anything like that, whatever other kids do. He would never graduate from school. He would never have a job. He would never get married. He would never have a family of his own. He would never have his own life. They had to let those dreams go. The dream of a normal life, of a high quality life, to an extent that had to be let go of. I mean, Nathaniel's everyday existence is pretty much the same thing every day. He wakes up, he eats whenever he feels like it, and then he sits around with me and my mom and other family and friends listening to music, and then he sleeps on occasion. That's basically it. Relatively speaking, in comparison to most people, that's not much of a life. There's a lot that he's missing out on. Granted, we don't know how much he understands, and that's another issue all on its own, but overall his life isn't necessarily, by most people's definition, spectacular. I'm not saying it's right to abort a baby, but pragmatically speaking, I would understand why someone would have made a decision other than the one my parents have made. There's a lot of hardships and struggle that we've had to go through that could have been avoided had they made a different decision. But my parents didn't make a decision based on what was practical, based on what might have made sense to some people, Rather, they made a decision based on what they felt like God was wanting them to do. No matter what kind of life Nathaniel would live, they were to take care of him and show him the kind of love that God shows to us. And has it been incredibly difficult? Heck yeah. If you were to ask my dad while he was still alive, or if you were to ask my mom, they would both tell you that has been totally worth it. There's a sense of fulfillment that can only come from being at the center of God's will. You see, God's will can be a lonely, dark place at times, and it's not always awesome and fun. Sometimes it can be heartbreaking or just boring. But despite what people say, we are occasionally given things that are more than we can handle. And when we are given stuff that are more than we can handle, God comes in there and helps us out. He empowers us to make it through those situations. At the end of it all, no matter what you're going through in life, all that matters is that God is there and we can come to Him. Through Him, we can have joy and peace and hope that only He can bring. Let's talk about hope for a minute. People can often misunderstand what true hope is. Sometimes they treat hope like it's just a wish, like, oh gee, I hope my team wins the World Series, or gee, I hope that I get married one day. But it's not that kind of hope. The kind of hope that I'm talking about is a strong anchor for our lives. Whenever the storms of life come and whenever Nathaniel's having a bad day, God and the hope He brings is our foundation. It's that hope that no matter what happens, things are going to be better one day. God's going to fully restore the universe and make everything right again. All the pain that we experience in this life will be no more. Once we're on the other side of eternity, it's like it doesn't really matter anymore. But until we're on that other side of eternity, we're able to experience and have a relationship with God now so that we're able to live this life abundantly. Real quick, I want to read a quote from Phil's book. "Beware of your dreams, for dreams make dangerous friends. We all have them. Longings for a better life, a healthy child, a happy marriage, rewarding work. But dreams are, I have come to believe, misplaced longings, false lovers. Why? Because God is enough. Just God. And he isn't enough because he can make our dreams come true. No, you got it confused with Santa or Merlin or Oprah. The God who created the universe is enough for us, even without our dreams, without a better life, the healthy child, the happy marriage, the rewarding work. God was enough for the martyrs facing lions and fire, even when the lions and fire won, and God is enough for you. He goes on to talk about how scary it is to let go of dreams that we have for our lives. When we let those dreams go and we begin relying solely on God's power and his will for our lives, and we make our relationship with him the focus of our lives, that's where the fun starts. If you haven't noticed, I really like this book. If I were to do like top 10 favorite books of all time, this would definitely be on there somewhere. I definitely think you should read it, but that's beside the point. You see, Nathaniel's disability may have been the result of a fallen world, but it was God's will that he be placed in our lives so that we could take care of him. Me, my dad, and my mom, throughout the course of our lives, we've been more conformed to the image of Christ because we have him in our lives. We've become more loving, we've become more patient, we've become more grace-filled and understanding because God has used Nathaniel to teach us these things, to make us more like God. We'll leave you all with this. That fulfillment that we're all looking for only comes into our life when we begin following and loving Jesus, following and loving God, rather than just merely following our heart or our feelings or whatever we feel like our calling is in our life. God has a purpose for your life. God has callings for you, but don't let those things that you feel called to do be your God. That's a form of idolatry on its own, making your life mission or your life purpose or calling your God. Make God your God, because in him you'll find the life that you're meant to live, just by loving him and him loving you and having a relationship with him. That's your foundation, and from there he'll call you to do things. You got anything you want to say to everybody?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, we're done.
Dun dun.
All right, we're done. We're going home now. So anyway, that's all we got for now. So thank you all for watching, and we love you, and we'll see you next time. All right, we're done.